die. Everybody talking to their pockets. Everybody wants a box of chocolates and a long stem rose. Everybody knows.
And welcome back to the Grassroots Connection, where we provide the information you need to make an informed decision. We just had a caller online, and looks like I dropped that call. So please call back. We're lining up calls on the board, and I promise this time I won't drop you. You can call back in. I'd appreciate it. I see you, and stay there. We've got one other caller ahead of you, and we've got a couple of questions out of the chat room. Let's see. Is it reasonable for people who have no ID, i.e. driver's license, not be allowed to vote as it compares to their listing on the poll center's check-in sheet?
Sure.
And that comes from Miss Obsidian.
Yeah, because anyone who's on that list of registered voters could be dead. And you could come in from Georgia and say, hey, I'm Mr. Smith who died last year, but you don't know that, so you think I'm Mr. Smith. And you go vote even though Mr. Smith shouldn't be on the registration rolls anymore. Or he could just be out of town or not participating, and you could fake it. So the ID proves, the picture on the license shows that you are actually Mr. Smith.
Huh. Okay. And then we have another one out there. I think you answered that one. I'm too busy screwing up on this phone. I have dropped 2 calls. I think, Miss Obsidian, you've been dropped. Please call back in. This time, I'm not going to fiddle with it. We'll just hit the button. But anyway, I have never been allowed to vote without ID, name on poll check sheet or not. Voter registration card and ID are always asked for. America's laws appear only to apply to Americans.
Well, in South Carolina, at least, you are not required to present photo ID, and you can't be required to present it at the time of voting. But as a practical matter, it's a pain in the butt if you have to fish out your registration and then explain to the poll worker that you're really them, and they want you to see ID, and everyone, it's just so much easier. Everyone is so used to just showing your driver's license.
Right.
When you cash a check, when you go to buy cigarettes, when you go to
Anywhere.
a lot of different places, you have to show your ID.
Yeah.
And technically you don't have to show your ID, but if you don't want to wait in line for 4 hours, you just whip out your license and go vote.
All right, Rich. Good answer. And our lines are just lit up. I'm trying not to screw it up, so let's go ahead and just start busting in here. Hello, caller. Are you there? Hello, caller.
Hey, Andre.
Hey, what's going on?
Yeah, this is Richard. I hadn't talked to you in a long time.
Yeah, I thought you forgot about me.
Yeah, well, on this issue, I'm 100% with you. I don't trust those voting machines at all, and I'm thinking that I'm not going to vote either because I don't know if when I push the button if it's going to register for, it could be, I don't know, crazy people. I mean, I don't know. If I vote Republican and it comes up Democrat, who knows? I mean,
right. They have back doors in these computers. But I'm going to let you. I'm going to phrase a question for you to Rich. Hey, Rich.
Yeah.
Go ahead if you've got a question. But I think Richard's problem is he just doesn't trust these machines. What do you say to that? I mean,
well, everything in life requires you to trust things that you don't know. Our society is way too complex. I mean, when you were a caveman, you know whether your bow and arrow worked.
Right.
But now you don't know if your car is going to start or blow up, or if you're going to hit the brakes and they're not going to work, or if you're going to get in an elevator and it's going to crash to the ground, or if you're going to vote and it's going to go into the ether or vote for somebody else. So unfortunately, that's just life. And
that's just the way it is.
You got to count on people to be honest and do the proper thing every day. I mean, all the food we eat, we have no idea where it comes from.
Well, we do, and some of it's not very good places.
Right.
Yeah.
But, you get a glass of water at a restaurant, if they spit in it or
that's true.
they put some
God,
soap
that's
in there.
a real bad image.
But
yeah.
It's just the way life is. We live in a world where you've got to have a lot of faith in your fellow man.
Well, I don't agree that you have to have a lot of faith. I mean, if I was a caveman and my bow and arrow wouldn't work, I would be building my own bow and arrow. I wouldn't be trusting somebody to give me a bogus bow and arrow.
Well, that's my point. Back then, when life was more basic and we could do everything ourselves, we didn't have to rely on anyone. But if you take your car to be fixed, and the guy tells you, oh, yeah, your discombobulator is out of fluid and it's going to be at $2,200, how are you supposed to know whether that's true or not? I mean, unless you happen to know that system, but most people don't.
you're talking about technology. Whatever happened to paper ballots? Why can't we just go back to that, where you just check off a thing on a piece of paper and
right? It's perhaps better, but still, you put your ballot in a box and then you go home. What happens to that ballot after that? You don't know.
Well, what happens is they count. What happens is they count the ballots, and you have a guy from the one party checking the other guy, and you have a Republican and a Democrat checking each other.
Right. That's what's supposed to happen.
Well, Richard, I think he actually agrees with you on this point, even though he's being cantankerous here. Right about now, Republicans are hoping you go and vote. But your point is very valid in that, even with those paper ballots, there is a risk that it can be manipulated. Although, at least there is a receipt. Right. It shows, hey, this is how I voted.
Right.
Exactly.
And in the bow and arrow example, if you or I see somebody pick up a box and throw it in the dumpster as poll watchers, there's not much confusion about that something wrong
what
happened.
They're doing, yeah.
But if some technician comes in and says, I'm just going to download this information where it has to go, and they go in and do something, and you don't know where it went, they could have just erased the whole thing because they know it's a party that got a lot of votes they didn't like or whatever.
Yeah,
so there is definitely some advantages to going back to paper ballots.
Well, throwing a paper ballot box in somewhere, that's a physical action.
Right.
A voting machine thing, that's an online, kind of mysterious thing that nobody can actually see. I mean,
right. And I agree with you. I don't have any problem going back to paper ballot. I agree.
Me
I'd like
either,
to have
man.
something to count.
What it gets down to is I'm pretty much agreeing with Andre. I'm not going to vote probably because I don't trust my vote's going to be counted correctly. And there are millions of people probably like me, and it hurts the integrity of the ballot. It hurts the integrity of democracy, which means it hurts the country as a whole. And we got to get out of these electronic voting machines.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, Richard, and I think this Rich in the studio agrees with you as well. But our phone lines are jumping like jellyfish over here.
Okay, well, hey, I'm ready to go. Thank you, Andre.
Thank you, man.
All right,
Thanks for calling.
All right, we appreciate you. All right, now let's see if we can get the next one here. And hello, caller, are you there?
Hello, Andre.
Hey,
Hello,
Miss
Rich.
Obsidian. Sorry about that. I kind of lost you. I lost a couple of people.
Oh, that happens. Don't worry.
All right.
Well, I look at it this way. The aspect of the phone lines being dropped are another good example of why I will not vote on a electronic voting machine.
Wow,
Case
that's
in point.
2 out of 2. That is 2 out of 2. Maybe I'm making too valid a point here. I don't know.
Well, when it's something simple as a call being dropped due to some electronical malfunction, which always happens some way, somewhere, somehow, let's get realistic. Now, saying about that the aspect of electronic voting machine being better than a paper ballot, I would have to disagree with you, Rich. Reason being, when I went to work at the one campaign office, I had to do by a absentee ballot, and I had to take it to a center that I think it was the voter registration office or whatever.
Yep, 2020 Hampton.
Well, this was actually up
She's
here
in
at the
North
time.
Carolina.
Oh, okay.
And so, as a result, that vote had to be guarded until it was finally counted.
Right.
Now, a paper ballot, when it's counted by someone, a poll counter or whatever that does that counting, there cannot be any bias, regardless of what political alignment it may be. Whereas with an electronic voting machine, there's going to be a bias to that machine via a electrical twitch here or there.
Right. No, you and I actually are not disagreeing. I am in favor of paper ballots, but as a practical matter, it's much more labor intensive. Results are slower.
Well.
But I agree with you. I mean, if we can spend billions of dollars on lots of other programs, the vote should be priority number one because that's the basis of our government. So
I agree.
I don't have any problem spending a lot more money on polling places and poll workers and the cost of operating an election. So it's honest and people are confident that the results they get are truly reflective of what actually happened.
Well, true. I'll give you that, Rich. What basically the point comes down to is this. If it takes a couple of days or maybe a week for all those paper ballots to be counted, I'm willing to wait that time period so it's not just an enzymatic spit out of electrons or whatnot that same night to find out who won what state or whatever.
Well, we did paper ballot for 200 years.
Yeah, and it
So
worked
it
good
worked.
enough, for 200 years. And I also have a point here. These machines, You can go to Europe. Me and you, we could fly to Europe, okay, and we could stick a debit card into a machine at any bank in Europe, and literally withdraw money from our account here in the States, and get an accurate accounting of our balance. Why is it that these machines can't do that?
Which is required.
Well, they can. There's certainly no question that electronic balloting could be perfectly legitimate, and hopefully they are. The only reason ATMs work and don't charge you for a charge that I take out is because there's a strong incentive for the banks to be correct, and you can check up on them and correct the problem if it shows up. But once you vote, you have no authority to go in and say, I want to look at the statement of my vote.
Okay.
That's wrong, and it should
change.
change.
It to be a secret ballot, though. You don't want people to go in and say, hey, look, we can go look who Andre voted for. He didn't vote for us, so he's in trouble.
Well, I mean, if they present ID, like, me, I go in and I vote, I get my little receipt, let's say in a perfect world from this machine, and then later on there's some kind of scandal where somebody says, hey, they've been fiddling with these machines. I can walk in with my receipt saying,
Bingo.
Hey, I voted this way. Make sure my vote counts this way because this is my receipt showing what I did.
But my point is, if there's a receipt that says this vote was for Andre, then anyone can go in, anyone who has the technology or the authority can go in and say, let's see how Andre voted.
Okay, well,
I don't like him.
We need to throw the machines away then.
Right.
I mean, if there's no safe haven there, we just need to burn them.
What it comes down to simply is this. You say that they cannot do that because it's a matter of finding out who voted for who. That's true. However, the only person that's really going to bother doing that is someone who's at the poll or a machine guard or whatnot. And what reason would they have to look at that, except for the person who actually did the voting?
No, Ms. Obsidian, you're being too generous. Imagine, and remember, I'm with you on the paper ballot, but imagine that some despot gets into office in Chicago or New Orleans or one of these other places, and they call down to the director of voting, and they say, hey, how do you like your job? I need to find out how Miss Obsidian voted.
Or they're the cousin of the guy that's running the
or
counting.
They appoint their cousin to the director of voting, and then when
then they're running afoul of the law.
Well, exactly. That's my point. Is it unless we can count on the people operating any system, no system is foolproof.
Callers, I see you out there, Miss Obsidian. We're almost into another break, so I'm going to keep you on until the break. But when we come back, we're going to open up the phone lines, get more callers, okay? Do you have another comment? We got about 60 seconds before we head off there.
I'm just wondering what his research turned up from the initial question that was inquired.
I got to admit, I did not do any further research. I've been a little preoccupied with other more urgent issues.
He's got a big party coming up. He told me during the break,
I'm leaving that
they're driving him crazy, so. But anyway.
You'll have a great one.
Thank you, Miss Obsidian.
Thanks for putting up with me.
Yeah,
Later.
remember,
Bye.
you can always put another comment in the chat room. We'll be right back after this break with more Grassroots.